These will be recorded and your contributions will be publicly available to everyone who decides to watch the videos. So, all right, so let's get started. My name is Terry, for those of you who don't know me, and then Carla is also on the call, and the two of us are basically facilitators for this group. We obviously can't do the work all for you, so this will be a team effort. It is a steady group where all of us get to contribute. Carla and I's role is basically to make sure that everything stays on track and to help facilitate the meeting. So just a couple of ground rules here that we have, and hopefully you can see the slides okay. The purpose of the study group is to assist you in reaching a level of proficiency necessary to pass the certification, the admin certification exam. You don't have to take the exam. So if you're thinking, man, I really don't want to do it, but I really want to learn Salesforce, that's all right too. You can certainly participate in the group, but we will be done hopefully sometime in November prior to the holidays is kind of what we're targeting. So that would give you a little bit of time if you do want to take the exam to maybe do it before end of year. And then you can kind of end the year on a happy note with that certification. And we do agree to attend and participate in every meeting. If we're not able to make a meeting, please let either Carla or myself know so that we're not hanging out and waiting for people to show up. If you miss more than 3, we'll probably ask you not to participate, but we will have the recordings, so everything will be posted to where you can still participate in the group that way. If you're super, super nice, we might let you stay on, but it's really not fair for everybody else who's taking the time to put together presentations to not have everybody here. So do your best to try to make the meetings. We agree to research and be prepared to present on any assigned topic. So I'll explain that a little bit more how that's going to work, but that is one of our rules. If you wish to pass the exam, it will require an investment of time that goes beyond the study group. Participating in this will not get you everything you need to know, I'm sure. So these exams are fairly complex, and so you definitely are going to need to do some study outside of this hour. We are here to support and encourage each other by openly sharing our knowledge and expertise. So I know some of you have taken this exam already. So it's been, gosh, I bet close to 10 years since I've taken it. So there's a lot of things have changed since I took it. So for those of you who have gone through the exam recently, please share your experience on how things have gone as we go through things. Or what you want to be careful of is don't repeat exactly what's on the exam. Don't share questions that are there. But if there's a topic that we hit and you remember that topic being on the exam, certainly say, I remember that being on the exam. So that's kind of a clue that we all want to maybe make sure we're well versed on a given topic. So, and then just some instructions. So, and some links here. So I'm going to share with you a Google Drive. And in that Google Drive is going to be our spreadsheet that has our game plan for what we're doing. And it's also going to have a folder for us to put all of our slides for all of the different topics that we do. And Carla and I are going to go through a couple topics for you today. Okay, so on that spreadsheet, we have our study plan tab. And what we've done is we've taken all of the exam categories and we've broken those down into kind of bite-sized chunks that we think we can cover during our hour meetings. And so we've got our dates all outlined here. They are weekly. And I lied to you, I thought we'd finish before the holidays. It's finishing right at the beginning of December, if we stay on track with the schedule. So that's a big if. Also on the spreadsheet, we've got some study resources here for you. Um, I would ask that, because this is a study group, if you are familiar with a resource that you really like, then I would ask that you feel free to come in here and add additional resources, just so everybody can stay aware of maybe some new things that are out there. I just learned about these trailhead pieces just a week or so ago, that actually take you through some actual questions on the exam. So it's kind of a cool little new feature that I wasn't aware of, where you've got some questions and answers right there inside the trailhead. So that's pretty cool. These are all links, so if you click on them, it'll take you into that particular resource. Our last day of that we meet, we will go through a whole series of mock questions. So as you want to add to the questions, kind of lay them out in a normal Salesforce-like question fashion, and we'll give some potential responses. How many correct answers are there? We will go through this at the very last day just to see how well we're ready and prepared. So I'm hoping that we see a pretty large list of questions. And again, the idea is this is a working document for all of us to use and to update as needed. Any questions on that spreadsheet? Does that make sense? All right, I do have you muted, so if you do need to speak, please feel free to unmute yourself. So the way that study groups that I've been a part of in the past have worked is we go through, we have everything kind of outlined as far as what we want to talk about, and then we assign people to that given topic. And so Kevin, since you're sharing your video, I'm kind of looking right at you. So user setup, and that section of the exam, there's a setup and maintenance topic that's outlined in the study guide. So I would assign this to you. And so if that gets assigned to you, your job for the next meeting would be to come prepared to present what you've learned on this topic that you think is relevant for everyone else. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So that's how this will work. So it is not Carla and I that's going to do the presenting on all of these. It will be divvied out to each of you to take a topic and get it prepared for the group for the following week. Again, the meetings will be recorded, so I hope you're not terribly afraid of having that having your voice out there for everybody to hear. The good news is that you really don't have an audience that's in front of you, so you don't have to be terribly afraid of public speaking. But we will definitely be sharing that responsibility. Carla and I will be walking through this just like you guys. The only difference is we're also facilitating it. Let's make sure I covered everything. We will always be using this particular meeting link. So the meeting invite that you have today, that'll be the link that we use. All meetings will be recorded and we will post those on this site. And then I will get you access to our shared drive after we're done, and then our weekly schedule and assignments we just went through.
So Terry.
Yep.
Just real quick question.
Yeah.
If you are assigned a section for that particular week and there's a emergency situation or something like that,
Yeah.
how are you going to take care of that?
Yeah, so what I've seen people do in the groups that I've been in, if you've got your presentation ready, and you can post that out to the share folder, either Carla or I or somebody else that's comfortable with that topic will just present your material for you.
Okay,
now,
great.
That's not to get out of doing a presentation.
So, well, Terry, you know me. I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself. So
yes. All right, well, very good. Any questions on how the group is going to run? And again, remember you are muted, so if you want to speak, make sure you unmute yourself. All right, so I do want to, before we go into our first two presentations, I do want to have everybody kind of introduce themselves real quick. So I'm just going to go straight down the list and have you guys kind of share maybe who you are, your name, how long you've been in Salesforce, and maybe if you are working for a company, share a little bit about that. So just real quick, like less than 30 or 40 seconds. So Kevin, let's go ahead and start with you.
Okay, well, my name is Kevin Garrettson. I've been working with Salesforce for just under 3 years. I've worked on project level development as well as basically doing administration, but I've never had any certifications. I don't have any formal training. There are pieces of standard Salesforce that I'm missing out on. That's what I'm hoping to get right here and get certified.
Very good, thank you. Adam, you're on?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Adam Kelly. I'm at American Equity. I'm working the marketing department on our special projects team. We do a lot of help with training on Salesforce, dashboard and report maintenance, testing as we bring out new fields. I've been working in Salesforce for about 2.5 years now.
Super. Thanks, Adam. Elena?
Hi, this is Alana.
Alana, sorry.
That's okay. Alana Clark is my name. I work for the Lansdale Group, which is a CRM consulting firm. My experience was actually being the administrator for a retirement organization. They owned and operated retirement communities. And then the firm I work for now actually assisted our organization when we made that transition to Salesforce. And so now I get to assist others to make that transition.
Very good, very good. All right, Belinda. No Belinda, okay. Britannia, did I say that right?
It's Brittany.
Brittany, all right, Brittany.
I work for the state of Iowa. I've been in Salesforce for probably about 3 years. I'm kind of the unofficial product owner of Salesforce within our division. I also help try to lead up the user group for the state of Iowa government. So I am here just to learn as much as I can and become a certified admin, as I halfway do it now. But I think like Keith might have said, I'm missing out on quite a bit of things.
Oh, sure. Yep. All right, Diana.
I'm Diane Leggett. I'm with the UCC conference, which is the United Church of Christ, and we serve churches and pastors in Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota. So we started this just after the first of the year to try to figure out a way to have all of our groups together but not merged. So I'm just beginning to learn all about this and setting it all up.
Very good, thank you. And Gina?
I'm Gina Noel. I was hired about a year and a half ago to help a small business implement Salesforce, and the implementation did not go very well. It wasn't adopted. So I've left that organization, but I believe in Salesforce, and I really want to learn more. So that's why I'm part of this group.
Very good. Jackie?
Jackie Logue. I work with Global Atlantic Financial Group. Been doing it a little over 4 years as the Salesforce admin. I have actually taken the test once and failed a big section that I don't work with. Okay. So this is kind of my push to get me through this and make myself retake it.
Very good, very good. Jenny, are you on the call? All right, Joe.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Yeah, this is Joe Stevens from G-Commerce. I am the administrator of G-Commerce's Salesforce system in addition to 2 other full-time jobs that they have me doing. I am about 30% through the admin trailhead, and I'm really looking forward to this class helping me get through the rest of it because I've hit a wall.
All right, very good, very good. Kevin, we covered you. There's Kevin Smith is not here. Laura?
Hi, everyone. I work with Kevin, actually, at Holmes Murphy, but I'm a learning and development consultant right now. I have been training people how to use Salesforce for about 5 years. I also, starting about 5 years ago, I was on an implementation team at a company I worked at. They were looking at implementing Salesforce. I heard that earlier. We did not do it. And then I worked at a tech startup where I ended up being a weirdly kind of like a default halftime admin. But there's a lot of pieces that are missing, and I know I have a lot more to learn.
Very good, very good. Lisa will be joining us. She sent me a message. I think she had an appointment today that conflicted, but she will be catching up on the video. So I am like the world's worst name pronouncer. So is that Lois? Is that how you say that one?
It's Louis.
Louis? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, hi, I'm Louis Müller. I work for Danfoss. We're in the mobile off-road hydraulic market.
Okay.
I'm using Salesforce since 2 years, maybe 3.
Okay.
Not working as much in there as I did before, since I'm more on other Salesforce products like Pardot and Einstein now, but still want to learn more about the basic Salesforce.
Good. Awesome. Thanks, Tanner. I'm sorry, Tanner, you're up next.
Yep, Tanner Goolsby. Work at American Equity. I'm the manager of the special projects team in marketing. So I work with Carla and Kevin and Adam, who are part of this group as well. So my goal is to take the exam at Dreamforce this year.
Oh, nice, nice. You'll be close to ready by then, as far as our content wise.
That schedule's about perfect.
Yeah. All right. I do not know how to pronounce this name, so I'm not right. Are you on the call? Is it? Yeah, I'm not even going to try. And then is it I don't know. Venkata? I'm probably totally butchered that. I thought I saw you on earlier, so maybe you had to drop off. Or are you still with us? Looks like you're still on the call, but maybe we don't hear you. All right, we'll come back. Zach, I think I saw your name on the call.
Yep, I'm here. I have been working with Salesforce for a little over 3 years, but actually only 3 or 4 months in an admin role. However you want to classify that, but was actually a member of our sales team here at Athene Annuity Company, and switched over to a Salesforce admin role here in June. I took a course through Salesforce, which was great, but wasn't quite ready to take the exam, so I thought this would reinforce some of the things I learned at the week-long course that Salesforce offered.
Awesome, very good. All right, guys, so the next thing we need to figure out here now is when do we want to do this meeting? So let me just start by asking, does this time every week work generally well for everybody? If that's a no, please let me know. Unmute, and otherwise we'll just continue with this particular time slot if that is effective for everyone. Okay, complain now, or we'll set it up. Okay, all right, good. We'll just continue with this next week then. And so let's jump into first presentation. So I'm going to take the very first one, which is the organization setup, specifically talking about the company information. Carla's got another one coming up right after this that's also organization setup. Now, as far as how you want to do your presentation, that's completely up to you. We've both Carla and I have just used Google Slides, I think is what it is, to do these. But if you want to use PowerPoint, whatever you want to do is totally fine. So just make sure that you don't even have to do a presentation if you'd rather just walk people through an example. That's totally fine as well. But in the company information section, there's an area there where you can track your primary contact for Salesforce. It has their demographics. The thing that I typically go here mostly for is to track licenses as well as what edition am I using. A lot of times when I go into an organization, I don't know what edition they have, which that license edition certainly makes a difference in capability. But I do like to see where I'm at with the licenses, to know how many licenses I have available, or how many licenses in general have been purchased. So that's a good section to go for in company information. Also, if you've got things like entitlements, which are usage-based licenses, those are specifically for partner communities versus your feature license there. So a feature license might be something like work.com. Your default settings for your time zone, language, and currency are also part of the company information page. I had a gal that I was mentoring here recently, and she did indicate that some of that information was actually on the exam, and needing to know those default settings at the company level. So just a little FYI there. Newsletters and maintenance notifications are also there. So if you want people to be notified, your default settings for that is also at that company screen. Okay, so fiscal years is, you get to that by navigating to the setup and then to typing in the quick find their fiscal years, and you'll find a section for this particular topic. Fiscal year is important to get that set up. By default, it is January through December. So it follows a calendar type format. It impacts your reports, dashboards, and forecast. All three of those have the option to do, when you create a filter that's on a date time field, one of your options on your report is to have it be your current year or past year. Those settings are all determined based off of the settings here in fiscal year. Standard fiscal year follows the calendar, starts at the first day of the month of any month throughout the year. So let me just kind of explain the difference between the two. A custom fiscal year, it's basically 4 quarters per year broken into 13 weeks. So when we think of the standard fiscal year, we typically think January through March is first quarter, April through June is second quarter. With a custom fiscal year, it's not necessarily following that. It's doing more like maybe January and then the first 13 weeks, wherever 13 weeks happens to fall, that is first quarter, versus week 14 through 26 is second quarter. So it's slightly different. It doesn't quite match the calendars. So when you're in a situation like that, that's when you would have to switch to a custom fiscal year. I think in all the time I've done this, I think I've only had one client where I've had to do a custom fiscal year. Almost everything else will fit into standard, at least from what my experience anyway. All right. Business hours. So kind of filling in some gaps here. Business hours are specifically designed for your support teams. So when I say support team, that means I'm thinking more along the lines of customer service or cases. It helps your department's processes such as escalation and milestones. So when you're building out an escalation rule, if you are closed, let's say your escalation rule is you have to respond in 24 business hours. Well, if it's 24 business hours, then you have to be able to define what is a business hour, what are your hours of operation. And I think the next slide it's similar to this. It talks about holidays. What holidays do you have off? All of those settings is what determines if something's being escalated or not. You can have multiple business hours for different support teams. So business hours can be differentiated for different sections of your company. Business hours are associated to an escalation rule, and in order to leverage it, you need to add business hours field to your case page layout. So if you've got multiple ones, then when the case comes in, you're able to then select which business hours does this particular case fall into. And then holidays let you specify the dates that your support team is unavailable. So say that we're typically closed for Thanksgiving and maybe the day before or Christmas. So you would define those in the holidays setup section, again, so that any of your business rules will be suspended during for those days. Any questions on the holiday or business hours? Does that make sense? All right, currency management's kind of fun. It's enabled on the company information page. So you do have to turn this on if you need to do multiple currency. It cannot be disabled, but you could, in essence, kind of somewhat simulate it being disabled by just having a single currency defined. One of my customers, we had to go with multiple currency because they deal with partial cents. So instead of stopping at the 1 penny mark, they had to go down further than that. So think about like gasoline. When you go to the gas station, doesn't stop at whatever the price is. It's got multiple cents below it, or partial cents below it. So you can do that with the currency management. One thing that's kind of an annoyance to me, but it happens, is when you do enable this, there will be a field called currency ISO that is added to every page layout in your org. And so you do want to be careful to go in and update your page layouts to remove it. For a single currency organization, you can set your default currency. In a multiple currency, you will set a corporate default, and then each user is able to create what their personal currency model is going to be. Anytime you then throw currency onto a report, or say you're looking at your opportunity that has an amount field on it, the conversion rate will be based off of whatever the corporate headquarters default rate is. And then speaking of conversion rates, there's a couple different ways that this can be managed. You can do it with a static exchange rate. What that means is that I'm just taking a snapshot of what my currency conversion rate is as of like now. And if I need to change it, then I just go in and edit it. The disadvantage of the static rates is that you will not see, let's say you've got an opportunity that closed 2 years ago. Its currency, the amount on that's going to be adjusted based on whatever is listed in this rate field. So your amount is 2 years old, but your exchange rate is current. So it doesn't give you a true picture. So that's where the dynamic rates come in, or the advanced currency management. When you enable that, you're able to then associate a date to that specific exchange rate. So it allows you then to for that opportunity that's 2 years old, it will convert the amount field based on what the exchange rate was back 2 years ago. All right, multiple languages. Two languages there's your personal language and then your default organization language. All on-screen text, images, buttons, and online help will be displayed in your personal language. With the default organization language, it applies to all new users until they select their own. Determines the language in which all customizations such as custom fields, tabs, user interface, and user interface options. Some setup items are manually entered by the administrator and can be translated using the translator workbook or workbench. And some of that really kind of comes in when you look at the 3 different levels. A fully supported languages are basically everything's going to convert. End user languages, just the field labels convert, not pick list, help or setup. So in that scenario, that's where you might want to leverage the translation workbook. And then there's also the level that it's platform only. So only your custom object fields and labels could be translated. All right, data protection and privacy gives access to data protection and privacy details on the lead, contact, or person account. Add the individual field to the lead, contact, person account page layout. So when this is turned on, there's an additional field there that gets added. They do consider it best practice to rename that field to something like manage data privacy versus individual. And then changing lead, contact, person accounts does not automatically update their data privacy. So I've not played a lot with this, so if anybody has, I'd be curious what your take is. But it seemed to me as if it's almost like it's a separate object that's related to your lead, contact, and person account. Has anybody used it before? Okay. Good news is that this is a fairly small portion of our exam, so and that's all I had on the company information section for the exam. Any questions on that?
Hey, Terry.
Yes.
Where does that, this is just for my own information, but do you know where Salesforce gets the conversion rates?
They don't. It's up to you to put those in.
So, I was thinking that there was I thought as part of the dynamic that maybe it pulled from like a Google API information or something.
I have done integrations where we've pulled it in automatically, but no, it's manually keyed in.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, Carla, I'm going to switch to I'm going to stop sharing and let you share.
Okay. I have to find the right one. Which screen would that be? This one. Just got everybody's picture on it. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I've got 2. Okay, here we go. So like Terry said, my name is Carla Helen. I'm a Salesforce developer, team lead at American Equity, lead the user group with him. And we split up the organization setup piece of the exam, and I was assigned the UI feature, so user interface. So there's a lot of options inside of the user interface section in setup. I checked both Classic and Lightning. The page is the same. It's just a bunch of checkboxes. I didn't put all of the checkboxes on these pages. I did a couple, and they're fairly straightforward. So I'll just kind of go over them, but some of the checkboxes there were enable collapsible sections. I don't know if you've noticed that inside a page layout, like if you're looking at a record detail page, you can collapse sections if you don't need those sections, and it sticks. So once you collapse it and you look at a record again, then that section is still collapsed, but it allows users to collapse sections by using an arrow icon next to the section heading. So you could turn that off if you don't want your users to be able to collapse those sections. checkbox there, the next one says show quick create. You can show the quick create area on a tab homepage. So you can quickly create records, but you can turn that on or off, I mean, if you do not want your users to be able to do quick create. I recommend usually not using quick create, just FYI is my tidbit there. I think that it can hinder data quality if you're not filling in a lot of fields on a record. So I kind of hesitate checking that box, but it's an option. I'm glad that we have the ability to turn that off. So enable hover details. So you can, it shows an overlay when you hover over a link, and turn that on or off. You can turn off the ability to show related list hover links. You can turn on or off the inline editing. So inline editing lets users quickly edit field values on a record detail page. And so you can turn that off if you don't want your users doing that. You can enable enhanced lists or disable them by unchecking the box. Enhanced lists gives you the ability to quickly view, customize, and edit list data. You can disable navigation bar personalization in Lightning Experience. There's a lot of back and forth between Classic and Lightning. So I've shortened Lightning Experience to LEX in my slides. So if you're wondering what LEX is, it's just Lightning Experience. Users can't add or reorder items in the navigation bar. Salesforce recommends doing this at the app level instead of org-wide. So you can do this inside of app settings as well. But I think this one's the global, so you won't be able to do it globally for any app. But you can control this on the app level, and which is what you probably should do. You can enable the tab bar organizer. So you can prevent horizontal scrolling by using this option. You can enable printable list views. And then I put here, there are a lot of options on this page and setup. So I'm gonna actually hop over, oopsies, to a dev org. This is what this page looks like in Lightning Experience. I went through, I think, most of these here is what I put in my slide deck. But if you just go into setup and just start typing user interface, it's right here on the page. If you just click on this, then you get all of these options. And I advise going through each one of these and making sure you know what they are high level. Like Terry said, this is a small portion of the test, but just knowing what they are. If you could get a question that asks you if you have the ability to turn something on or off that might be on this page for user interface options. So some of this stuff is like disable the Lightning Experience transition admin reminders. That probably won't be on the test. And if it's really annoying as an admin, you can go in and disable those, which I have done. So in my org, not this org, which I will do now. It's just my personal dev org. But I've done that in my own org that I work in every day because it can get annoying. Yeah, so this is all
hey, Carla,
yeah.
Quick question for you. This is Zach. Do you know, on the exam, will we be asked to say, you know, like where you're at? Will we need to know how to get to user interface, or is it enough to say go to setup and type in user interface? Does that make sense? You know, like I think you navigate there by clicking user face or
Right.
user interface, then user interface again. Do we need to know that?
No, on the exam,
Okay.
you're not asked where to find anything in setup. It's mostly, do you have the ability to enable printable list views in Salesforce? Or, you know, something of that regard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This is what this user interface looks like in Classic. So it's the same exact page. And in here on the quick find, it's the same thing, interface. I just typed that in and I clicked on here and I got here. The thing about Lightning is that when you type in user interface, there are a lot of other options here that I am not covering in my presentation. I went off of the exam guide. I guess I could have shown that. If you go to the certification exam, I always just go to this link. I never know what it is. I just Google it every time. And click on administrator and get the exam guide. I don't know if you showed this, Terry, or not, but I wanted to kind of just show here on the exam outline, when I expanded the organizational setup, this is how we split them all up. So if you can go into each one of these, and it kind of gives you an idea of what to base your presentation on. So like Terry went over fiscal year, business hours, currency management, and that sort of stuff. So for me, for user interface, I'm going over the UI settings, like I just showed you. I'm going to talk about search settings, list views, and homepage layouts. But inside of the user interface section in setup, there are a lot of different things to know. So I think, like I said, just knowing high level that you're able to turn these settings on and off, and that you can, you know, do things like renaming tabs and labels and things of that nature. Anybody have any other questions before I hop into the next section? Nope. Okay. Let me go back here. Okay. So like I said, there's a lot of options there. Search settings. So search settings is different in Lightning Experience than it is in Classic. So I know that they're doing a big push now for everyone to be in Lightning. It is kind of good to know both sides. From what I've heard, my coworker Kevin has taken the exam just recently, Kevin Smith, and he's told me that a lot of the questions were Classic based. So I am going over some things in Lightning Experience, but he said that most things were in Classic, but also with the caveat that they're going to be moving. I think the next exam rewrite, they're going to be doing a lot more of it in Lightning, because that's what they're doing, is pushing most people to go into Lightning. So it's kind of confusing, but knowing how to do it in both places is probably the safest way to be for right now anyway. So for search settings, you can configure search results in Lightning Experience on each object. So each object within Object Manager has a search layouts section. So this screenshot that I have here, I'll just hop over into my dev.org quick and just show you in Object Manager in Lightning what that looks like here. So I'm in the account object in setup, and I click on search layouts, and you can define the fields that you want to show, what columns are showed, what buttons are showed. You can define that here on each object. So it's customized per object. And then in Classic, there are more things that you can do. You can enable limit to items I own search checkbox. That has gotten me in trouble in the past. If you check that box and you don't own a record and you search and you're like, I know it was here, and then you can't find it because that little checkbox gets you. But that is an option, and it's available to users. And it can be handy, but it can also be annoying because you think you lost something. You can enable drop-down lists for sidebar search. If this setting is enabled, drop-down appears for users to choose whether the search within tags within a specific object or across all objects. Enable sidebar search autocomplete. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Single search result shortcut for sidebar and advanced search is kind of cool. That is if one search result comes back, Salesforce will take you automatically to that record. So if your search comes back with just one record, it'll take you automatically to it. You don't get a search results page. So you can define the number of search results displayed per object. And then there are lookup settings. So the lookup settings allows you to enable enhanced lookups, auto completion for the enhanced lookup, and custom object lookups. In Classic, there's actually a search, oops, I can't type, search settings, there we go. A search settings place. So like I said, in Lightning, it's just per object, but in Classic, there's an actual search settings page. So this is different than in Lightning. And these are the checkboxes that I talked about in my slide deck. And you can, like I talked about, the number of search results displayed per object, and then look up settings here. So that's what this page looks like. I would just kind of go over this page a little bit, just be familiar with what kind of settings are available to you. Let's see here. We got a few minutes here. Okay, list views. You can enable inline editing in a list view in Lightning Experience. The caveat is with record types. If you have more than one record type, you can't edit them inline. You have to filter by record type in your list views. So that is a gotcha. Not all fields on records in a list view can be edited. So there is a help article that I'll post in the resources list that Terry talked about earlier. I think it might already be in there, but I'll double check. That talks about which fields, but I don't think you need to memorize that list, just knowing that not all fields can be edited in line. In order to create custom list views, I wasn't sure if any questions like this might be on the exam. If anybody's taken it and know, that'd be great to know. But it just says you need the read permission on the type of record included in the list, and you have to have the create and customize list views permission in order to create custom list views. And then also to create, edit, or delete public list views, you have to have the manage public list views permission. So that's list views. Homepage layouts are different in Lightning than they are in Classic. So homepage like layouts in Lightning Experience are done via the Lightning app builder. In Classic, they have their own place in setup, and that you just search for homepage layouts and you'll find it. I can show you here in a second. But homepage layouts in Lightning are determined by app and profile. When you save and activate a homepage layout in Lightning, you assign that to certain apps and profiles so that they see that. So that's different than Classic. And then the Classic ones, you have to create your homepage components. And then once you do your homepage components, you have to add those components to a homepage layout. And you can add up to 20 components to a homepage layout. So very quickly, I will just show you here. This is in the Lightning app builder in Lightning. If you do new, I won't actually create one, but you can do a homepage. So this is how you would create a homepage layout in Lightning via the Lightning app builder. And in Classic, there's actually homepage layouts and components. And like I said, you have to create the components first. So you would go in here and create them. They have standard ones, but you can create custom ones. And then after you create those, then you would go into the homepage layouts section, and then you would add those components, and you can add up to 20 to the layout. All right, Terry, I think that's all I got. Yep. I think you're muted.
There we go. All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Carla. Any questions for Carla on what she had presented there? All right, so while she was doing that, I did send out an updated meeting invite that is hopefully reoccurring through the end of the year. Hopefully you all have that. Also in that email, you will see the links for all of the documents. You should see that there as well. So the other thing that I did is I went in and I just took everybody's name alphabetically who was on the call today, and have given you an assignment for you to take away and begin to get ready for next week's presentations. next week, we've got 3 of them that we're scheduling. So we're going to look at the setup and maintenance, activating and deactivating and freezing users, and then explaining some, we'll get started in the security side of it with looking at different security controls. So as you, I'm trying to think how to help you maybe prepare for your first presentation. What we've put over here in the description is really just coming straight out of that, out of the exam preparation guide. And so this is really kind of what you're looking to cover, is the things that they've identified here. Again, I liked how Carla had both a presentation as well as she just walked you through examples on the screen using an org. You're welcome to do that. You're welcome to do it as all presentation if you prefer. But basically the concept here is this particular topic is your topic to kind of be the subject expert on. And then as you're presenting, or as any of us are presenting, if any of us in the group have questions or you want to dig a little bit deeper, make sure you speak up and ask questions as we go through it. That's how we learn. I want to go back to and reiterate that we don't know what's on the exam. And so when we make statements like, I think this will be on the exam, it truly is just, we think it might be on the exam. We don't have any insight there. And so I don't want you to mistakenly think that we're giving you some secret information. We don't have any secret information. It's just, a lot of it's based on experience from taking other exams, being familiar with the types of things Salesforce will ask. So please understand that. The other thing is, I forgot the other thing. Never mind. I'll think of it eventually. If you have some trouble getting something put together for your presentation, reach out to Carla or I, and we can help you maybe get that first one started or give you some direction. But Trailhead is a great resource for a lot of what's going to be in these exams, so you can certainly do a lot of research there in Trailhead. The other thing that I was going to say that I had forgotten a little bit ago is many of you are wanting to get certified, and that's fantastic. I want to reiterate that if that is truly where you're at, you will need, all of us are going to have to study all of these topics. Just because you're not assigned to the setup and maintenance, all of us should be studying these 3 topics for next week. Now, Adam is going to be presenting on it, but all of us should be studying and following along. Does that make sense? And if you keep up with that as we go through it, doing a little bit every week, or if you can fit in a little bit every day as you're studying, that's fantastic. But at least every week, try to keep up with studying those topics. And I think what you'll find is, number one, you'll have questions that you'll be able to ask and get the entire feedback of the group. And then number 2, you'll be getting yourself more ready for the actual exam. That makes sense?
Yep.
All right, everybody, we've got 4 minutes left. Any questions that anyone has? Really anything on that with how we were going to operate? Unmute and speak now. I don't see anything in the chat window, so.
I apologize if I missed it, but your schedule here says Mondays and Wednesdays.
Oh, sorry. That's because I picked yes, thank you. I just went to the first of that week. So yes, these will all be Wednesday dates. So I will get that corrected so that you're right. Thank you for picking that up, Joe. So yes, we are meeting next Wednesday, the 11th, not the 9th. Okay, and then I'll get those updated for all the other dates as well. Not like that though. Okay. All right, anything else? Carla, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's good. I'm excited to learn with you guys.
Yeah, me as well.
Thank you for putting this together.
All right,
yes,
guys.
I agree with that.
All right, well, have a great rest of your day, and we'll get back together next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.